Name's Paul, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to build a real-time dashboard to manage all of your Instantly Outreach campaign statistics and update it every single day automatically. Let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is create a new scenario. And the way we're going to access this API is via an HTTP request, because if I go to Instantly, their old API is on their V1, which is just version 1 of their API. And if I select make an API call, because the modules don't have a, get campaign analytics or statistics, whatever, you can see it's HTTPS API.instantly, and then it's followed by the endpoint. And in this case, it's V1. So the V2 doesn't actually work on this yet. So what I want to do is select an HTTP module, and it's going to be make a request. And I'm just going to pull up Instantly real quick so I can show you guys what we're going to do and why I want to do it. So if I pull up campaigns, and this is one of our clients' campaigns, I might blur this, might not. But basically what we can see is we have, how many people we've reached out to, our reply rate, our positive reply rate, the opportunities that came from that, et cetera, et cetera. But what I want to be able to do is, because to get to that dashboard where we can see all that, I want to be able to have, 8, 9, 10 different campaigns in one dashboard where we can see all these statistics, but I don't have to manually go into Instantly and then into the specific campaign and then see those stats and then be like, oh, okay, here's what we had, da 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 da. I want it to just be able to automatically log it and, maybe on a daily basis, update the dashboard, or maybe every 2 hours, kind of depends how many campaigns you have running and what points they're at in the stages. So what we're going to do is integrate with the V2 of Instantly's AI API. So I'm going to search for Instantly AI API. And I'm going to scroll down to this one because you can see this one's the API-V1. So this is it. And Instantly has really good documentation. So what I'm going to do is click on campaign, because these are the endpoints we're going to be using. And we're going to use the get campaign analytics. And I always prefer curl when, reading documentation, just because it's super easy. If I go to, PHP or something, it's just a little bit more complicated. Like the URL is still there and everything. It's just a bit unnecessary. Curl has it in a really nice format where we just have our endpoint and then we have whatever headers we need and, request body or whatever. So what I'm going to do is copy this URL. So Control-Z and then paste it in here. Looks like it included a single quote there. And the way you can check your method is just up here by this -X, and you can see it's get. So that's what we're going to do. We're getting information from the server. And what these question marks mean is actually queries. So if I was to add a query, and the only query we're going to be using is this ID right here. If I was to paste or copy and paste ID in here, followed by the campaign ID and paste it in there, we wouldn't actually need that in the URL, because these are queries. Now, a lot of the time it's easier to just leave them in the URL so it's all in one place. So what I'm going to do is backspace everything but the campaign, so all these ands, and then just back to the question mark. So question mark ID followed by the ID string. So what we want to do is actually get our campaign ID. So there's probably an endpoint for that. I believe there is. Yeah, it's this list campaign endpoint. So what I'm going to do is just copy up behind the question mark, or before it, because we don't need any of the queries. I'm not looking for a specific one. And then we need a API key for this, which I'm going to show you how to get with the new V2. So boom. And then a lot of the time, or always when you're working with these APIs, you're going to have an API key. And normally this header is going to be in the body, or sorry, not in the body, in the headers. And the most common way for this to happen or to be set up is you're going to have a header call authorization, and then the value is going to be bearer followed by your API key. And to get your API key in this specific example, what we'll do is head into Instantly and then go to settings and then to integrations and then to API keys. And then we'll create another API key. I'm going to call this demo. And then the scopes, I'm just going to select all. This is basically what this API key has access to, like its specific limits, what types of things it can do. Now, for simplicity, I'm just going to select all, because I don't have, specific people using this. It's just me and my team. So if you grant, this API key all scopes, it's, enough to select it, blah, 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 blah. So once I click create, I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it in here. And if I try this out, this should work now. Yeah, so if I go to data, actually what I'm going to do is, because I came back in some weird JSON, I'm going to click on parse response. I'm going to click run once, data, And if I go to items, We have an ID as well as the name. We have the campaign schedule. We actually get a ton of stuff. This is a really useful endpoint because it doesn't just return the campaign ID. We get tons of stuff. When it was created, the email list, the email tag list, organization, a bunch of different settings and stuff. The sequences, I didn't even know you got that. That's actually really good. Okay, I like that. But what we need is this ID. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. And there's a lot of different ways you could look this up. Like there is this search, so we can search for specific ones. What you could do is list all your campaigns and then map those into a Google Sheet or something and store them forever. So you can just hook that up to a client's database or something. But what we can do is drag the trigger to this next HTTP module, and paste this campaign ID in, and click on headers. Actually, I'm gonna close this, save it, and then because I need to grab the API key from here. So I'm just gonna copy this whole thing. Boom, add a header, authorization, and then I'm gonna paste in the whole thing. So bearer, and then the API key, and then let's try this endpoint out. Let's try parse response. And what we get back now is we get campaign name, we get campaign ID, we get leads count, we get leads contacted, we get the open count, the reply count, the bounce count, the completed count, the email sent count, the new leads contacted, total opportunities, total opportunity value. This is just like whatever you set your opportunity to. So basically what a closed client is worth, it'll just multiply that number times your opportunities, and that's like how much it's worth. So basically what we can do now is map in this data to a Google Sheet. So what I'm going to do is just set up a super simple Google Sheets dashboard. So I'm going to call this new sheet instantly campaign tracker. And then I'm going to grab a blank table from the right-hand side. I'm going to name this campaigns. And then for this column 1, since we would be realistically, like the only reason we'd make this is because we'd have multiple campaigns. So I'm going to call this first one campaign. Let me just say campaign name. And then let's see what sort of info we get back from this data that we've web scraped. So if I go to data and then open this up, we have campaign name. We also have a campaign ID. We have a leads count. This is good. So leads count. You can imagine if you had 6, 7 clients, how useful this would be. You wouldn't have to do nearly as much, work as you would before. Let's do contacted count. Okay. Map this in. I'm not tracking open rates just because it doesn't really work right now. So many email providers block that kind of stuff or will just mess you up. It's not usually accurate. It is a good way to test if you're landing in spam or not, because it'll only count as open if it's not in spam. We're gonna have reply count. We'll have bounce count. These are all good metrics to keep track of. If you have too high of a bounce count, you'll want to do something about it. I'm gonna add another one. I'll call this completed count, I guess. This campaign's about done, so these numbers are a bit drastic. Completed count. We'll have sent count. The difference between sent count and contacted count is each lead. Each lead is basically a contact. But email sent, that specific contact can have multiple sequences, and subsequences. So if I go to sequences, we have this first one, and then we have this second one, and then we have this third one. We have 3 different sequences. So each lead's going to get sent 3 different emails at least. And then if they have another one, we actually have these different reply macros we'll send them, or subsequences they'll go through depending on if they're interested, more info, if they want to book a meeting, etc. And then that'll send them another email. So that's why that number is so much different. So we'll have email sent count. We'll have new leads content. I don't think we need that. Total opportunities. And then I'm not going to include the value for now. So I'm just going to add another column, and then we'll have total opportunities. And this will be good, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this campaign name real quick because we don't need to update this every time that we pull back the stats realistically. So we'll have a campaign name. Actually, let me backspace so that came through with weird formatting. Boom. So we're gonna have a campaign name, and then we're gonna have this campaign ID. And again, you could use that list campaigns endpoint to just map in all of your campaigns really, really quickly, like literally within like 3 seconds, because you can just add the rows. But what we're going to do is we're going to set up a Google Sheets module. I think we're done with this list endpoints. First off, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to say get campaign analytics. Okay. And then we're going to grab a Google Sheets update a row module. And I'm going to select my account, which is this one, I believe. And then I'm going to grab this instantly campaign tracker. And first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a search rows module. We're going to actually look up this campaign ID. So search rows, usually IDs are better than names because they're like hyper specific and they're hard to get wrong. So I'm going to search it by the, 1 second. She named she1. Filter, I'm going to turn on campaign ID, and then we're going to use this campaign ID to pull it back. So if I was to, okay, we have to click save again because make is a bit special sometimes. So if I click on run once, we're going to pull back this campaign ID, and then we're searching for the row that has that specific campaign ID. So we have campaign ID, and then we haven't filled out any of the other columns or rows. So we just have a campaign name and the campaign ID. But what's important is this row number. So now we can connect it to this update rows. So I'm going to say find row number. And then, now we can use this row number dynamically. So I'm going to search for it instantly. It's weird. It tracks my deleted Google Sheets in the update row module, but it doesn't in the search row module. It's kind of strange. I wonder if you could like update whether a sheet is deleted or not. I don't think so, but maybe. So we have row number, and then we can actually start updating things. So we have leads count. So we can map this in from the data. This is why you want to parse this. Now you could use a parse JSON module, but it's just an extra operation. It just doesn't make a ton of sense. So I'm going to parse it, I'm going to map in this leads count. I'm going to map in contact account, reply count, bounce count, completed count, email sent count, total opportunities. And then this is actually good. So I'm going to say update campaign tracker. And I'm going to auto align this. And now what we should get is if we run this whole scenario end to end, what we should get is all of this different data mapped inside of here. So I'm going to run this. Okay. And so now we have leads count, we have contact account, we have reply count, we have bounce count, completed count, emails sent, total opportunities. Let me expand this a bit. And this is actually good to go. So again, just imagine how useful this is if you have, just say 15 campaigns running or something, maybe 4 or 5 of them are for your personal outreach or something. You can manage all of it across here. Like it's just so good and so simple. And if you want to set this up to, run daily, first off, by the way, the whole blueprint will be down for free in the Gumroad link. Just, you can get it for free. What I'm going to do is call this instantly campaign stats tracker. I'm going to Control S to save it. And then I'm going to turn the scheduling on to every day. And then I'll just click on save. Now you could set this to your specific time. My time zone's a bit weird. It's in Singapore because this account's in Singapore. I'm in the US, but it's just a bit weird. So you can click on save, activate scenario, click on save again. And now this would run every single day at whatever specific time you give it in whatever specific time zone. And you could have this run multiple times a day, which you would then change to, at regular intervals every 12 hours or something. But yeah, that's the whole system end to end. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to drop me a like and subscribe. The blueprints for this whole scenario will be down in the description for free at the Gumroad link. Besides that, everybody have a great day.